Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Hello, you wonderful critical thinkers. Thank you so much for watching. Last week I made a response video to a video from a guy calling himself Topics of Religion. He's a Christian apologist who, in my opinion, makes very silly and funny content without understanding that himself, and I have explained that in my response video. This guy presented a half-baked version of Pascal's wager, which is absolutely one of the worst and most stupid religious arguments ever to be conceived. It has been debunked a million times before for everyone to see on YouTube. So I called him out for that, and that was basically the main course of my video. Link to that response video of mine in the description below. So if you want to, you can watch that first to get the whole picture. Now, I asked this guy, Topics of Religion, to not just respond by making more silly comments under my videos, but instead respond in an actual video. Because this is YouTube. It offers content creators the opportunity to have debates through means of videos. Not like these useless, superficial live debates that mostly serve as propaganda material, but actual video debates. Making a video gives us the time to think arguments over and phrase them to our best abilities. That way you can show the best and most educated version of yourself, which in theory should lead to better quality arguments. Especially in this case, because this guy suggests to be educated himself. So, Topics of Religion made no less than four short response videos to my video, so thank you for that. Now, let's see how this is playing out for him. Will Topics of Religion actually address his silly mistake of using Pascal's wager, or will he try to avoid substance and stick to his usual insults without evidence? Is Topics of Religion as foolish and funny as I initially thought he was? Let's find out.
Okay, the Sound of Science. He did a video review of one of my videos, and of course he was obtuse. He didn't explain things fully. He assumed a lot about my channel based on one or two videos. It's futile to argue with an intellectual liar. The Sound of Science and his little croonies that follow him, they have the intelligence of a walnut. Why bother talking to people that are just juvenile? They don't like that you're correcting their lies or calling them a liar, and then they start trolling you. I'm just calling out your lies and buffoonery and deceptions and low intellect. And that's what the Sound of Science does. He projects, he lies, he deceives.
Well, this is about the gist of his first response video. He spends most of his time making all sorts of accusations without providing any examples or any evidence. What assumptions did I make about your channel? What did I lie about? Based upon what do you conclude that I've got low intellect? How did you correct me on what? Please show some examples or evidence. I ask you to make a video instead of posting more comments under my video so that you can take time to think stuff over and that you can present the best version of your arguments. But the quality of talking that you do now is the same as in your comments. You basically only phrase a series of claims and accusations without any explanation, examples or evidence. So your first response video is a total waste of time for everyone involved. And this is absolutely one of the core problems with Christian apologists on YouTube in general. Claim after claim, accusation after accusation, without any substance to back it up. So yes, still foolish but not really funny, but instead mostly very lazy. So let's move on to his second response video.
He asked yesterday, I think it was, who caused the flood? And I said, you did. It's just because why bother? I mean, they're just gonna refute everything you say and argue. So it's like, you know, what's the friggin' point? Why bother?
This is one of the rare moments in which this guy addresses an actual religious topic. In one of the responses to his comments, I mentioned the horrible massacre of the supposed Noah's flood, in which his God according to his Bible book, chooses to kill millions of people, including babies and children. So I asked this guy, who created the flood? So as a response, he now says, I did. What, I created the flood? Or people like me created the flood? And you think that that was somehow a good or funny answer? Your God voluntarily and deliberately drowned millions of innocent babies and children in a planned and systematic manner because some of their parents did not obey your God. Your own Bible book describes very clearly how your own God elaborated and executed the world's first genocide. It describes his motivations, his announcement, his planning, and his mode of operation. Your God was in control of everything all the time, for everyone to read in Genesis 6, 7, and 8. Your God could have made any choice he wanted. There were 1,000 ways to handle this situation in a way in which no one would have been hurt. He could have anticipated on this so that none of it would have been needed in the first place. Your God supposedly is almighty, remember? He easily could have avoided this, yet he voluntarily chose to murder babies and children. Why don't you address that in a serious way? But no, instead you choose to give a stupid and dishonest answer telling me that I, or human beings in general, created the flood. Total nonsense.
I had a theist come in today. He says every time I've had a debate or a talk or argument with a atheist, they always know more about the Bible.
Yeah, atheists thinking they know more about the Bible than people like you. What do you think that is? In your 4 response videos, you don't quote the Bible once. Not one single time in 4 videos. You don't demonstrate any specific knowledge about your own Bible book. And that is my experience with many Christian apologists on YouTube. I have given you the opportunity to demonstrate your Bible knowledge. I handed you a biblical topic on a silver plate, Noah's flood, and I ask you who created the flood. I've given you time to think it over and give your best possible argument to demonstrate that Noah's flood somehow was not a despicable act of genocide planned and executed by your own God. So I asked you, who created the flood? Who had ultimate responsibility? Who took the initiative? Who pulled the trigger? And all you do is telling me that I or human beings created the flood, which totally contradicts your own Bible story book. You're surprised when some atheists think that they know more about the Bible than you do? Of course they think that. And the only way to refute that is to do your homework and give a decent, substantial response when asked about biblical matters.
He really was on a tangent about me saying, if I'm right and you're wrong, that's going to be a problem. And if you're right and I'm wrong, well, we just become part of the earth.
Yeah, so this is the part where he addresses the fact that I called him out for presenting some half-baked version of Pascal's wager. Possibly the worst religious argument ever to be conceived. Many people, including myself, have demonstrated that Pascal's wager doesn't prove anything and is a totally worthless choice model.
And I'm doing a comparison on whether or not, what's going to happen if they're right or I'm right. He can't grasp that. He goes off onto a tangent about how that doesn't make any sense and you're making assumptions. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm doing a comparison.
Oh, sweet mother of Gandalf. No, you strawberry milkshake for brains. We all see it's a comparison. But you are the only one who doesn't see it's a nonsense comparison because it only includes the 2 options that fit your narrative. You ignore thousands of other options that render your comparison useless. Your comparison doesn't prove or demonstrate anything about your God and doesn't present any useful model for making a decision about one's religious position. Your comparison is totally worthless. Look, I could do the same thing with 2 other options. If Allah doesn't exist, you and I are both fine. But if Allah does exist, then I, as an atheist, might get away with it. But you, as a Christian, will be dancing on fire for eternity because worshipping false gods is the greatest sin of Islam. According to your argument, that's a big chance to take. So you better become an atheist right now.
And it boils down to none of us really know truth.
Well, if you don't know truth, Then why do you believe in your God in the first place? None of us know if Thor exists. None of us know if Dracula exists. And none of us know if your God exists. So there's no good reason to believe in any of them. But for some reason, you single out one character of which you yourself admit, I don't know if he exists, because none of us know truth. But you choose to believe in him anyway. By the way, I think you're pretty dishonest here, because you constantly imply that your God does exist, and that you know he exists.
None of us have proof on either side. Proof would be evidence that proves the other side wrong. That's proof. None of us have that. Science doesn't have that. Christians don't have that. Or YECs. We don't have it. You don't have it.
Exactly. Now we're getting somewhere. There is no evidence that proves the existence of your God. You're totally right about that, and that is the main reason why most atheists don't believe that your God exists. If there is no evidence to prove something to be true, then there is no good reason to believe it. There is no evidence that proves that fairies exist. There is no evidence that proves that Santa exists. So we don't believe in them. And it's the exact same thing with your God. Let this be your intellectual breakthrough.
And it's so basic. The video that he is looking at of mine was a very, very basic video. It's like a level 90 video, if you were going to use college terms like classes.
I think you should know that none of your videos that I've seen so far resembles anything that should have any place in any educational program. And then he addresses my point that if his God does not exist, and he has been serving a non-existing God for his entire life, then that would be a total waste of time. And that turns out to be another concept that is too complicated for him to grasp.
You're talking about it's a waste to serve God for all these years. It's a waste because we don't know if it's real. And in the end, we may find out, we may not find out is what he says. But I think we all find out. Of course, that's my opinion. But what in the world? It's not a waste. Why is it a waste to serve God?
Sweet uncle of Frodo, it's unbelievable. If your God doesn't exist, then you haven't been serving your God. You only think you're doing that. If your God doesn't exist, you don't serve anyone. Then before dinner, you're just holding hands, looking towards the skies, thanking nobody for your mashed potatoes. You kind of look like the type of guy who thinks he has a beautiful online girlfriend, and then in reality he gets scammed out of his money. And then when you go to the police, you say, well, I met Tatiana for the first time last year. No, you didn't. Tatiana does not exist. Your entire relationship only existed in your mind. Serving her was just a waste of time. It was just Jake separating you from your cash.
And I gotta tell you, it's much better being a Christian than a non-Christian.
And another thing he has probably never heard of, but the more atheistic a free country is in the modern world, the more happy people become. Countries with the highest quality of life, the highest levels of freedom and prosperity and happiness are mostly secular countries with a high degree of people not believing in the existence of gods. Just like the more educated and academic you are, the bigger the chance you're an atheist, all of which is repeatedly demonstrated by scientific research. So, if you want to have a better life, you're better off moving to a place with a higher percentage of people who do not believe in a god.
But God helps you through those trials and tribulations of life and can help you get through them. When I became a Christian, he took away addiction. He took away cursing and swearing. He took away hostility, anger, and evil thoughts and deeds.
No, you only know that you think that your God did that. Earlier, you admitted that no one knows truth, so no one knows if your God exists, so you don't know if your God did that. Just to be clear and just to apply your own reasoning.
And with the changes that God has done in my life, and I've seen him change other people's lives, it absolutely proves that God is real.
No, now you prove yourself to be totally dishonest. Earlier you said loud and clear that nobody knows truth, nobody knows if your God exists, and there is no evidence that proves his existence. Let me repeat what you said.
It boils down to none of us really know truth. None of us have proof on either side. Proof would be evidence that proves the other side wrong. That's proof. None of us have that. Science doesn't have that. Christians don't have that. or YECs. We don't have it. You don't have it.
So no, whatever experience you had does not prove that your God exists. You've seen people change. You've seen yourself change. There could be a multitude of explanations for that. The changes themselves, of course, do not prove the existence of any God. But you already confirmed that nobody knows truth, and that includes you.
My video, I said Christianity isn't harming anybody.
So now we get to what often is the most disgusting part of having debates with Christian apologists, being the unspeakable acts of violence that Christianity has committed over the centuries. Because in his previous video, this guy said Christianity doesn't hurt anyone. So I told him, then what about the Crusades, the Spanish Inquisition, the witch hunts, the numerous wars, all initiated and facilitated by the official leadership of mainly the Catholic Church? Millions of people have been murdered by the official Christian institutions, which comes as no surprise because the Christian God gives extremely violent examples in the Bible, and the Bible even tells that, for example, non-believers and gay people should be put to death. Now the answer that this guy gave to that is the most pathetic evasion I've seen from a Christian apologist, I think, for the last few years. Remember, he said Christianity doesn't hurt anyone. So I said, now how about the Crusades, witch hunts, the Spanish Inquisition, etc.? And then this is his response.
My video, I said Christianity isn't harming anybody. Now I'm talking about current. I said it isn't harming anybody. That's talking about the present tense. These people are so dumb they can't understand past and present. So he's going to talk about, this is the sound of science. He says, well, listen, what about the Spanish Inquisitions? What about all these things where Christianity killed people, the witch trials, all that? Yes, in the past. I'm talking about present.
What a pathetic piece of liquid dropping this man is. It's embarrassing that you evade this question by acting as if all the Christian violence in the past no longer matters. And even by focusing on present day, you clearly and totally miss the point. Christianity still is causing horrible suffering for millions of people. That is not a thing of the past. If you go to Google or ChatGPT, you can ask for a list of damaging and violent acts that the Catholic Church has committed very recently, up to present day. The list of atrocities that is committed to children by thousands of officials at the Catholic Church is endless, and their acts of abuse are so disgusting that I can't mention them here on YouTube. You fool! You should educate yourself on the unspeakable suffering that the officials of your religion bring upon this world. And then I thought it wasn't possible. He gets even more stupid and disgusting. This guy is going to try to make the case that his God is not that bad because his God killed less people than Stalin and Hitler did. So imagine that. In order to make his own God look good, he needs to compare them to the worst and most violent dictators in human history.
Yeah, Christianity has harmed many people. Atheism, let's talk about atheism. Has atheism killed people?
No, atheism has killed exactly 0 people. Atheism only is the position of not believing that a God exists. It has no doctrine, no instructions, no dogmas, and certainly not any agenda of violence, contrary to the Bible that tells you to kill non-Christians. All atheism is not believing in sky wizards.
Stalin was his 350 million people. I can't remember what it was.
No, you pineapple chutney for brains. Your numbers again are totally wrong. You really need to do your homework. It will only cost you a few seconds to look up some actual facts that you can use in a discussion, but apparently you're too lazy for that. And come on, if you believe that those numbers are right. Well, I don't know where you were educated, but you should ask your money back. Anyway, Stalin was a horrible dictator who killed millions of people, and it is said that he was an atheist, although he was raised as a Christian, and he even studied to become a priest. But it is irrelevant that he was an atheist. There is no atheistic doctrine that could have instructed Stalin to do anything. Stalin also played tennis. Does that mean that tennis killed millions of people? No, of course. Atheism didn't kill anyone. It was Stalin who did that, a ruthless dictator who established a horrible regime. He destroyed everything that could be a threat to his regime, and that includes worker unions, media, universities, and churches.
How about Hitler? Was it 150 million, 250 million? I don't know. Everywhere I've looked, they get different numbers. I don't know how many, but hundreds of millions of people just through 2 atheists.
And yet again, you don't understand anything about numbers. You must think that you are 60 feet tall and that your trailer is 300 feet long. But returning to you mentioning the German dictator, again, you're trying to make your God look good by comparing him to Hitler. That is on you. If you think as a Christian that your God should be part of that lineup, then you can get my blessing for that. Well done. As long as you realize that Hitler, of course, was not an atheist. Hitler was a baptized Catholic who later turned Protestant. He believed in the existence of a God and often made references to his God in his works and speeches. He even founded his own religious cult called the German Christian Movement. I will repeat that, the German Christian Movement. So he certainly was not an atheist, and it only would have taken you a couple of seconds to find that out.
Now, in the Bible, the world wasn't as populated as it is now. So they killed off thousands of people.
Oh boy, you don't even understand the numbers that are implied by your own Bible. Noah's flood supposedly took place about 4,500 years ago. The world population around that time was somewhere between 15 and 25 million people. According to your Bible, God drowned all of them. All 15 to 25 million people. Except for the lucky 8. And as soon as you are prepared to Google for 10 seconds, you will find out that your God indeed has about the same kill count as Hitler. So your comparison was relevant after all, but not in the way that you wanted.
And there's a magnet that they used to sell for refrigerators that said, how is it worded? The worst day as a Christian is still better than the best day as a non-Christian.
Well, that explains a lot. This is where this guy gets his wisdom from. Refrigerator magnets. Oh boy. Let me conclude with another literal brain fart from this spinach cake for brains.
He is doing what's called, I'm not sure what the actual science, or not the science, but the mental health, because I worked in mental health. I'm trying to think of what they would call it. It's like a projection, but not really. Oh, what is that called? I can't remember. What the term is. I'm having a brain fart.
Yes, you do. You produce brain farts all the time. The only special thing about you is that you keep your camera rolling while doing it. This is where we need to say goodbye to this absolute master in Christian buffoonery. If God exists, he must be sitting on his cloud, elaborating on how to make this guy shut up. Poor God has spent centuries on building his empire of gullible followers, but he didn't anticipate on the internet. And now he's represented by millions of guys like these. The irony. Thanks for watching.